would realise how ridiculous this is. It is. Well, good. I'm happy to come to this.
What did it need to come to?
Tell us why you escalated it to this level. Because I don't understand. I posted something that he posted. You come to arrest me. You don't arrest him. Why has it come to this? Why am I in cuffs? Because there's something he shared, then I shared.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media sites.
What the hell? What about all those? What about Greg Secker? What about all the ads? But oh no, now they're giving us ad settings, right? Yeah, so these are the Google controls. Add topics. Topics of interest that are based on recent browsing history and are used by sites to show your personalized ads. So you've actually got to, the fact is that you've got to accept all this stuff. Whether you turn that on or off or not, the fact is that you still got to have these ads. The fact that they're forcing people to have ads, and then the ads are governed by these mechanisms that search your phone and collect your data, basically privacy intrusion. You know, accepting and consenting to all these terms, forcing people to accept to terms that collect data and effectively spy on you, and now everything you look at and everything that you're doing, it's just the philosophy is wrong. Even with these controls, sites and advertisers can measure the performance of their ads. So basically the performance, that means that they're taking data from you in your how you respond to them and so forth. Sites, all websites and advertisers are allowed to measure the performance. It's basic, everything that we've had in the world about protecting from strangers and protecting your data, it's being handed to them on a plate, and they're just getting you to, they're designing and building their websites. So why even, first off, right, why even have ads in the first place on these sites? Why even have ads? Secondly, then the ads are starting to infiltrate into people's lives and gather information and data, and they're making it so you don't have any option. You know, the site, this is what it is, and this is how it works, whether you like it or not. Why not just ban ads completely? You know, it was better with the BBC that was ad-free, but now the BBC is getting attacked for the license fee and wanting ads to go on everything, so ads can gather more data about everyone. And even with these controls that you can set and change, I found difficulties, and some of the ads are really annoying and harassing, and it's very hard to block them. And then even when you do, there's always this thing where you always can get flashed with an ad first time or one time and not like it, you know. So there is, and then you know you're forced to watch so many seconds of something. What about the forced seconds of something that if you do really want to watch it, and then when you try and get rid of it, if you navigate back or whatever, and it's just a hassle. It's the fact that regardless of whether you set these settings to not show certain categories or whether you set these settings to, you know, not store certain data or information, it still comes down to the fact that there's going to be ads playing, and some of them that appear first time you're not going to like, and if it's annoying, you have to get rid of it. I end up having to navigate away or reload or even, you know, play around with the app. And basically it can take up to sometimes a minute or something like that. And it's just so frustrating that the whole mechanism of all this, all these mechanisms they've got are actually causing people distress. The mechanism itself, the actual existence of the whole framework of it is a pain in the ass. Now, I know that Advertising Standards Agency govern adverts, so if the content of an advert is bothering you, you can report it to the Advertising Standards Agency, right? But what the thing is this, right?
Lauren.
No. The Hampshire police would realise how ridiculous this is.
So you've got the police round at this guy's house because of a comment that he made on social media, just one comment, right? And all this whole team coming round to arrest him. Why is it not possible in the police's mind for them to actually click, this company, Google, YouTube, they're doing things to me with their website system that is harassment, right? Just like this guy's merely put a post up there, the actual framework itself, the fact that they're forcing you to do things you don't really want to do. Yes, but you consent and admit to their terms. True, but the thing is, can you consent to admit? Why don't YouTube and Facebook just make a policy that says consent and admit to their terms, where you won't bring any charges against anyone else on the website? That'd be liberal, wouldn't it? You might as well say, okay, then anyone who uses YouTube or Facebook will consent to the behaviour of any other person, right? They're saying it's a private website, like a private house. They're claiming it's a private website, although anyone can go on there and read it without having to have an account, right? This is the thing with Neil Mohan trying to separate the law of the right to petition from petitioning. It's almost like trying to separate smoking laws from smoking. You can't do it. When you're on these internet websites, you're subject to the law, right? So this is when people actually get reported to the police. This is not even YouTube stepping in. This is not even YouTube removing a content. This is not even YouTube in, community strikes. You see, the thing with YouTube, what's happening now is this, right? So you've got John Campbell, who's a perfectly, amicable man, friendly man, nice man. He doesn't swear. Sometimes he might get annoyed, but he doesn't swear. He doesn't abuse anyone or do anything offensive. Not that, he doesn't even claim that he's using any political rights either. He's not actually claiming that his channel's for petitioning, although he has had petitions on there. We could go further and say, well, I'm getting into political area now, which is, we're all actually trying to argue with YouTube about political rights, which they're trying to claim the political rights don't apply. They're not actually arguing what the political rights are. They're saying that it's a private platform, and they're trying to claim that political rights don't apply, which is the immunity and protection. And they're trying to say that they can remove anything, when I believe that we've got freedom of use of the press for political material. But this is about just the normal general law, harassment. Why don't YouTube claim, or could YouTube claim, if it's a private website, they're claiming it's a private website, can YouTube say, this is a private website, we're going to have its own rules on here, and, everyone will consent to everyone else's behaviour? That would save a lot of trouble with community guidelines, wouldn't it? But then what YouTube will say is, oh no, we want to uphold the law. We want to, uphold community standards because that's good for the community. We want to protect people. We're interested in protecting people. Well, the thing is, could they though? Have they got the legal right to say this is a private website? None of the laws apply. None of the harassment laws apply. None of the abuse laws apply. Or is it still governed by state and federal law? This is the question. Can YouTube actually, say the law doesn't apply to them? Then, if this guy's in his own private house on his computer, why doesn't he say, oh, the law doesn't apply to me in my house, It's almost getting to the stage now where these big platforms are disrupting the law so much that they're trying to pick and choose kind of almost where the law doesn't apply. The law itself says where the law doesn't apply, not a policy on a platform. A policy on a platform doesn't say where the law doesn't apply. The law itself says, where smoking applies and where smoking doesn't apply. It says in the law. Political rights say what you can and can't do with political material and what is protected, and where an other party doesn't have the right to intervene or do something. And and this is the thing with publishing, when it's publishing political material, it serves a function and purpose. But the thing with Campbell, though, a lot of the videos aren't breaking the law, and I think that's the main thing here. The main thing on YouTube, what is really, really disrupting the whole world, is that it's a lot of the time you're not actually breaking the law. You're not breaking the law. You're not breaking the law on YouTube, but it itself is trying to claim that they don't want it on there or they're removing it, right? But when it comes to harassment, right, they're saying, "Oh, we want the law on here. We want to enforce the law. We want the law to apply because we're good. YouTube's good. We want to protect people." But what they're not saying is, "Oh, we want to protect freedom of speech. We want to protect political rights because that's the law. We're behaving. YouTube upholds the law. These are normal videos. This is the law for harassment or for bullying and so forth. We like these laws. We want to protect people. But then again, this is political material and we're good citizens. We uphold the law. This material, like the Advertising Standards Agency, don't govern this material because it's exempt, because these people have a right to do this certain thing or that certain thing in this material in category. Basically like the Advertising Standards Agency itself. If the thing that this guy posted here, the material that this gentleman's posted and the police have come round for him, right? If that would have been an advert that he published, right, the Advertising Standards Agency might have been called in and they might have said, this should be removed, right? But they might have said, we're not going to remove it. Like they've just removed a yogurt advert with blood in it because it says killer yogurts, right? Killer yogurts that have got this, they had some blood in the advertisement. So apparently they've taken action and removed it. Like that's offending people. It's offensive to people. But, that advert actually ended up getting published though. So the publisher, whether it was YouTube or Google or another company, still published it. They weren't taking it down saying it breached guidelines, But what this guy's done here, he's done something that upsets or harasses someone, but the police have been sent round, right? Now, the Advertising Standards Agency govern advertisements themselves, but what about the actual framework Google has got? What about the buttons they're putting in and the things they're making you have to do and consent to? Because, like I said before, in the street, if you're just walking down the street, walking down the road, and someone said, "Oh, will you consent to all my behaviour now? I'm going to make you consent to, being slapped around the face. I'm going to make you consent to being stabbed in the leg. Will you consent? I'll give you a form." If you give them a bit of paper and say, "Sign it," right? Consent to my terms, sir. Right? I'm going to slap you in the face now. Sign this bit of paper and then I'm going to slap you in the face. I'm going to, it's like a rugby game. I'm going to tackle you. Now I'm going to, I'm going to consent to be stabbed in the leg or whatever. Or, if you're in a movie, if you're taking part in a movie or you've got to do stunts or liability and so forth, would you sign such a thing? The thing with Google and YouTube is you don't have a choice. It's like, all you want to do is watch a couple of videos, but they're saying, "Oh, we want to watch our videos, dear. Well, you'll have to consent to these adverts being shown, and then, we're going to give you some controls, but they might be very frustrating. There might be a bit of a harassment. There might be a bit of a hassle. And by the way, no matter what you set your settings to, you're always going to have to watch some sort of advert, even for the first 30 seconds, and that could be harassment or annoying. What you're going to do, turn your phone off, turn the sound off, or navigate back. This is kind of frustrating me now. I'm just trying to relax and watch this video, but watching the video is quite annoying and harassing. Why aren't the police turning up at Google and saying, and how many people have reported that the police are meant to go on, you can petition. The police is His Majesty's government. It's funded by a taxpayer. At the end of the day, What happens, if one person says Google's harassing people, these adverts are annoying us and upsetting, but then what if 10 people ring the police, and then 20, and then 50, and then 100? What happens if it turns out 1,000 people complained about Google, and 1,000 people believe that this amounts to harassment? What if 10,000 people on Google Records said, these these adverts are harassing us, the controls are infuriating me, driving me nuts. I think it's a wind-up. What if 1,000,000 people had complained to Google on their records, And what happens if you handed that on a table to the police? Would the police turn up round at their house, at Google's headquarters, at the people? We don't even know who these staff are. Who was a staff member who fought to implement these adverts? Is Neil Mohan responsible? Why aren't the police turning it round there? But, they won't. Why? Because, he's a pillar of society, like Alec Belfield, he's famous, he's a pillar of society, and so forth. This is it. But that is why in political rights you've got immunity, because you're doing it, you're trying information and you're trying to get people to sign, with private companies. Basically what Google are doing, consent, agree. They're getting you to sign a bit of paper, a legal bit of paper, to say that, you'll let us do these things to you. You'll accept this on our website. This is a web. But the odd thing with YouTube and Google, though, is this. You can type it. You don't have to be logged in to watch it, do you? That's the thing with Google. You don't actually have to have an account with them. You don't have to be actually logged in. And this is the thing with privacy. It's a private website, but it's publicly viewable, And when you just go in, you could go into a public library and be typing something in and it pop up on the screen, and you could go on there and not even have an account or log in and just watch videos freely. And, you could get harassed by those adverts. Now, you might say, well, it's Advertising Standards Agency. If you're harassed by the advert, if you find that that particular advert harassing, like this gentleman's particular post was harassing, then report it to the ASA, That's if you can, catch the details of it. Google have got reporting tools, even if you're not logged in. But what about the framework? What about the controls they're giving you? What about the navigating? When you're trying to watch a video, and then if you don't really want to watch that first few seconds, you can't skip it and some of them are getting longer than 5 seconds now. And I found that you have to go back, and then you kind of refresh and go back, and then go back to the video, and then another ad plays, then you go back, and then another ad plays. What happens if you just don't like ads? Fair enough, you consent to their thing, but what happens in your mind if, in my mind as a human being, I don't really like adverts, right? What happens if, as a human being, you think, well, I don't like adverts, I find them distressing, generally, upsetting, even harassing, right? If you're a sensitive person. But yet, this, YouTube company, you have to, consent to their terms. Well, I don't really want to. Well, don't watch it then. But when you're not logged in, I don't really think that you have an option to consent or not. I'm pretty sure that if you're just surfing Google search and you type in, butterflies, and there's a video here that pops up for butterflies, and you click on it and it opens and you just start watching it, you haven't actually consented to anything. There's no consent. You just watch the video, you press play. There's no informed prior warning. There's no consent form. There's no terms and conditions that appear when you watch a video. In fact, actually, what about when you link videos to website off-site? I've actually got a lot of YouTube websites on the main website now, right? And Google have done something where YouTube videos don't play off-site. They're crashing. And I don't know what they've done, but it's happening on every website. And I've tried it with a couple of different phones, and it still happens. They've got a button now where it says "Watch on YouTube." They want you to click the button and watch it on YouTube. They don't want you. They're deterring people from going to websites that aren't YouTube. And And I think that crash thing is on purpose. They've done it on purpose, because I've been on other websites and it's done the same. But 3 different makes of phone, it's still doing it. They've set it up to not play, which is some sort of intervention glitch they've put in there, or someone has. So they want you to come on their site. But even if you click watch on YouTube, when you press play, there's no consent. There's no consent. There's no agreement terms. You just press the play button, and you still can end up, getting badgered by these ads. This is the thing with what the entire corporate and the whole corporate sector itself. I think that the whole corporate sector is somehow being the police have been evading having to do anything to them. And I know there's an action fraud site where you can report white collar crime, but I would like to someone to I don't think YouTube are covered by freedom of information like the government are, but I'm pretty sure that someone could get a court to subpoena all the complaints that YouTube have had about adverts, and it would really take. I mean, you've got police around at this guy's house, multiple police officers handcuffing him to arrest him because of a comment he made on the website. But Google, you've got millions and millions and millions of people who I think have written into them to complain that the whole framework is annoying, frustrating, intimidating, harassing. Just the what they put you through to have to watch these videos. And I think that the police, if you walked into the police station and put it on the table, if you managed to get a subpoena of like all the complaints together, possibly hundreds of thousands of complaints. I mean, what is this guy here's little comment on a website complaint to hundreds of thousands of people's complaints, But yet, their lawyers would say, oh, no, well, consent, they agree to our terms. But there is no terms. There is no terms when you press the button and open the site, and then you get subjected to these, treatments, methods, procedures, frameworks. If you look for the terms and conditions, you can find them. Now when you're uploading a video yourself, there's all, you go through the consent and agreement and stuff like that. But a lot of it, I truly believe that a lot of these massive platforms have really gone ahead of themselves in the law. And I think that it must be the government are telling the police not to take action. It must be the government telling the police not to consent, not to investigate when people have been doing it. Because, why, if you could get a psychologist or an investigator or a doctor like Dr. Campbell, if you could get Dr. Campbell to actually assess people who have been affected by these Google ads and frameworks, and if he did think that they actually truly suffered harassment or distress or frustration by these advertisement frameworks, that could be, a doctor's confirmation that he's doing that. And even if there's a policy that makes you agree to it or submit to it or consent to it, what if a professional doctor says that they're getting you to consent or submit to harassment? I mean, this is the thing. If you've got a private club and you're getting your members to consent to being whipped or tortured or whatever, like some of these Max Mosley sex sellers or whatever, what is the law there for in the first place? I mean, and could you effectively? This is what I'd like to ask Andrew Bridgen. Could you, if you've got a private house, can you on the doorstep can we have a house policy that consents you to give up the entire legislation of England? I hereby consent to, when I enter this premises, I consent to giving up all my entire rights in England, including the right to an ambulance. Like on that Saw film, when he traps him in the house, and he's getting injured all the time. It's like, you know, but what law is the house governed by? You know, what about the owner of the house? If he wants to demolish it, it's governed by, you know, like the people who demolished that pub, that crooked pub the other day, didn't have consent, didn't have permission. Well, you know, can you give consent away from the council so you don't need planning permission on a private property? Can Google say, oh, Google's private, you know, can the council sign this form to say that we're not subject to, you know, planning permission regulations? You know, some of the councils, I think, are turning a blind eye anyway to it. Could you get, you know, could YouTube say to Rishi Sunak, you know, sign this form, Rishi, so, you know, YouTube aren't subject to any of the laws of England? I think that they have done that, and that's why Rishi, you know, Biden and Rishi Sunak have been literally owning the website, telling them what to do, but clearly not telling them to do when we've got our political rights, which allows us to challenge Rishi Sunak and Biden to the public. I really would like to get Paul Groves into a room, into an interview room, and go through the clauses and legislation of the law, and how he thinks that YouTube can just get people to consent to give rights up. You know, it's, you know, can Google and YouTube start getting all their staff to sign consent forms where they won't have unions, or they don't have medical rights in YouTube or Google, you know, give up their medical rights. So, you know, but then, you know, what Paul Groves will say is, you know, why would you want to do that? Why would Google, as a respectable, we're doing good things with these adverts. You know, that's how we make our money. You know, we're providing entertainment. Look at Mr. Beast. He's, you know, trashing Ferraris up in a giant blender. We'll say, well, I might try that. I mean, I might get a Ferrari and trash it up in a giant blender, you know, but the police might end up coming around like this, you know. This is the thing. Oh, health and safety, you know. Google and YouTube, it's not about the law, because if they are a good company that has good values, then why aren't they respectably upholding the law? Now, the law, a very, very old law, which, you know, all these religious values and very, very deep religious beliefs and family values and so forth, the laws of the nation are founded on. This is the First Amendment of the nation, or the Bill of Rights. It's respectable. It's meant to be, you know, this is what we're supposed to, you know, respect and honour and feel proud of. You know, people are meant to be proud of it. So why are YouTube saying, oh no, we've got a policy where this doesn't apply, where your freedom of using the press doesn't apply, where your freedom of speech doesn't apply? What's proud in that? Not upholding the Constitution, not wanting to uphold the Constitution. You know, it doesn't make sense. You know, why aren't YouTube, you know, will help us, you know, will help us viewers out, will help people commenting out, you know, sign this release form, you know, and then no one gets any strikes on this platform because, you know, we'll sign your rights away, you know, you consent to be subjected to whatever on here. And then also, actually, we'll ask the Advertising Standards Agency to sign a form. Oh, we don't have to be governed by the Advertising Standards Agency. You know, we've signed a form. It's policy now. It's policy. You know, they don't govern us. You know, I really, really think that they're getting into trouble with their policy, because they're trying to... The law governs things. We aren't governed by company policies. And the way that Sunak's talking in Parliament, he's using all these words, oh, it's policy, making it sound like Parliament's a business. But it's not, it's law. It's a law issue. Laws on this, laws on that. He's making it sound like he's trying to, you know, it's like in the council, you know, oh, what's on business today for the council, as if they are a company or a business themselves. What they're trying to do is they're trying to blur the lines between, like, governance and law and company, enterprise and policy, as if it is law when it's not. These are the laws of this company. Companies don't make laws up. Governments make laws up, and we elect them MPs to represent us to act in laws, and we're allowed to have an engagement in the laws through the world, through the streets, through our houses, through companies, through using a private company that will print my political leaflets, through a telephone company where I can ring people up, through letters in the post where I can send mail, Royal Mail, where I can ask people in the streets, where I can ask people in a business, where I can ask anywhere. You know, what is the realm? What are the freedoms and liberties of the realm? What is the realm? The realm of England is the whole realm. It's not like everywhere that's not private. There's something fundamentally wrong with these people. And I think it's to do with this whole buying everything up. Companies buying parts of the town centre, making them private, or this is a private shopping centre, a private piazza. This is, if they continue purchasing, and if they purchased all the houses and then you were renting the houses, what is left of the realm? What is the realm if it all ended up being private? If they ended up buying, all of the town centre into one big shopping centre, then where do you have your rights? Where can you go into town to ask people to sign a petition that is covered by the petitioning laws? That it doesn't make sense, because then you privatise the realm, and then effectively, has someone bought the country? Has the government been sold? Have we sold all of this country to a private entity like Branson's Island? It is effectively now, this is, I think, what Mark Zuckerberg kind of, and Musk is treating it as if it's some sort of Branson Island, like privately owned, what isn't part of a country, but it is part of a country and it has laws. And the laws are, companies are subject to laws. So companies are subject to laws. They don't rule by their policy. And the fact is that all these citizens, these independent people, have got certain rights, and they're acting like we don't have them. And Rishi Sunak is, going on and on about this, embracing the public. He's not embracing the public. He's picking the public's pockets. He's taking the public's money. He's not only taking our money and fleecing us, he's taking our rights away unlawfully, it's subverting the rights and liberty of the realm. And he's not backing us up. He's not backing us up when YouTube take our videos down and say that we don't have political rights. In fact, I think Rishi and Biden are trying to, they're backing up YouTube that we don't have any rights on there. When we do, political rights apply to political material wherever it is, or else they'd have to say you can't have political material on there, and they can't do that because you've got political rights to advertise, because otherwise the Tories and Labour won't be able to advertise on YouTube. It's all completely wrong. These people are actually breaking the law. There's a law, and there's only certain figures who are in a position to be able to break this law, which is judges, ministers and councillors. Because when these companies don't comply, when these companies are withholding our rights, we're meant to go to ministers, we're meant to go to lawyers, and we're meant to go to judges to ask them to uphold our rights. And they're not. They're not actually doing that, which is, it's not just the fact that, an independent person, a company's denying your rights. It's the fact that the people that we actually elect, who are meant to bring them to justice for it, they even further go to deny them. And that is when you get to the level of subverting the laws of the realm. Because you could do something illegal and you can get prosecuted by the police, right? But at the end of the day, if the governing authorities, who are meant to stop all of the companies and citizens from subverting the laws, then those people who are meant to be in charge of the laws, the judges, the ministers and the councillors, if they are not upholding our rights and telling these other citizens or businesses to uphold our rights when we ask, then that is a subversion of the fundamental laws and rights of the realm, and that is crime. That's what the Bill of Rights is for, and the First Amendment. It's to hold the. In fact, Congress can't also make any laws that can take those rights away. So if Congress can't make a law, then how can a company have a policy? Because private businesses and private buildings still are subject to the law, like on, demolishing buildings or, smoking, whether it's in private or public, it's governed by smoking law. Political rights are governed by the political rights laws, and they can't say that those laws don't apply. So the police are meant to. The police. I've never ever seen any. Well, actually, I've seen a policeman. Somebody pulled a protester out of the road, and I've seen a police officer pull him back into the road and put him back in front of the vehicle again when they were doing a protest in the road. I've seen some police act. That's the only instance I can think of where the police have actually gone out of the way to enforce political rights, rather than either being indifferent and not getting involved or arresting people. When they, like Angela Ditchfield or people like that, when they've got a right to act, they're allowed to act through, the Town and Country Planning Act or statutory instruments. That police guy actually dragging him back into the road, which, I don't think he should have dragged him at all. Is that Rishi Sunak putting a hug around them? Is that Rishi Sunak's, embracing the public? I think Rishi Sunak's squeezing us to death, He is not putting his arms around us at all. It's literally like Matt Hancock behind the door, being filmed having a snog now. We're all being filmed in our own private affairs. I think that's Rishi's idea of hugs, is Matt Hancock voyeurism, when, what we need to be doing is, filming them taking our rights away. But we are, and no one's doing anything about it.